Who would win? Ip Man vs. Bruce Lee, a detailed analysis. There's a question that's been floating around in martial arts circles for years. If Ip Man, Bruce Lee's teacher, and Bruce Lee himself had a street fight, who would emerge victorious? The question is intriguing, and to answer it, we need to delve deep into the techniques, skills, and philosophies of these two legendary fighters. This isn't about pitting one against the other, but rather examining their individual strengths and how they would potentially play out in a hypothetical fight. Let's start with Ip Man, a grandmaster of Wing Chun, a martial arts form that focuses on close-range combat. It emphasizes efficiency, directness, and simplicity. Ip Man was an expert in using an opponent's force against them, making him a formidable opponent. On the other hand, we have Bruce Lee, a student of Ip Man. Bruce took the principles of Wing Chun and developed his own martial art, Jeet Kune Do, which means the way of the intercepting fist. His style was about fluidity and adaptability, breaking traditional martial arts constraints. Their styles were both efficient and deadly, but their approaches were significantly different. Ip Man focused on maintaining a strong defense, then counterattacking with precision. His strikes were quick, and his footwork allowed him to control the distance between himself and his opponent. Bruce Lee, however, was all about offensive maneuvers. His philosophy was to strike first and strike hard, using a variety of techniques to keep his opponent off balance. His speed and unpredictability made him a difficult opponent to read. So, who would win in a street fight? It's important to remember that street fights are unpredictable and dangerous. They aren't about rules and techniques, they're about survival. Street fights favor the quick and the adaptable, not the traditionalist. Bruce Lee believed in having no style as style, and using no way as way, allowing him to adapt to any situation. His fluid, unpredictable style would arguably give him an advantage in a chaotic street fight. Ip Man, while a masterful fighter, focused more on technique and precision. His style was less adaptable than Bruce Lee's, which could be a disadvantage in a street fight where anything can happen. However, it's important to note that both fighters advocated for avoiding violence when possible. They believed in using martial arts as a way of self-improvement and self-defense, not for fighting. Here's a more detailed breakdown of their strengths and weaknesses. Ip Man's strengths. Economy of motion. Ip Man was known for his efficient use of energy, wasting no movement and striking with precision. Precise strikes. Ip Man's strikes were highly accurate and focused on vulnerable areas of the body. Redirection of force. Ip Man was skilled at using his opponent's own momentum against them, turning their strength into weakness. Strategic thinking. Ip Man was a master strategist, able to assess the situation and adapt his tactics accordingly. Weaknesses. Less aggressive style. Ip Man's style emphasized defense and precision, which could put him at a disadvantage against a more aggressive opponent. Preference for close quarters combat. Ip Man was most effective in close quarters combat, which could leave him vulnerable at longer ranges. Bruce Lee's strengths. Speed and agility. Bruce Lee was known for his incredible speed and agility, allowing him to quickly close the distance and land strikes. Powerful strikes. Bruce Lee's strikes were incredibly powerful, capable of knocking out opponents with a single blow. Adaptability and improvisation. Bruce Lee's philosophy of Jeet Kune Do emphasized adaptability and improvisation, allowing him to flow with the situation and utilize any technique that was effective. Unorthodox techniques. Bruce Lee was known for his unorthodox techniques, which could catch opponents off guard. Weaknesses. Reliance on speed and power. Bruce Lee's style relied heavily on speed and power, which could be less effective against a more experienced and strategic opponent. Less emphasis on defense. Bruce Lee's style focused more on offense than defense, which could leave him vulnerable to counterattacks. Yet, if we must pick a winner for this hypothetical matchup, considering the chaotic and unpredictable nature of a street fight, the edge would likely go to Bruce Lee. His adaptability and speed would potentially give him the advantage in such a situation. But this is all speculative. The outcome would depend on countless variables that we cannot predict. What is certain, though, is that these two men were extraordinary martial artists who had a profound impact on the world of martial arts. Their real fight was not against each other, but rather against ignorance and prejudice. They fought to make the world understand the depth, complexity, and beauty of Chinese martial arts. In the end, the question of who would win in a fight is less important than the respect, admiration, and appreciation we should have for these two legendary figures. So, rather than debating who would win in a street fight, let's celebrate the legacies of Ip Man and Bruce Lee. They've taught us so much about martial arts and life, and for that, they're both winners.